Good afternoon, everyone. You're all very welcome along today to our webinar. For those that don't know me, my name is Stephen Kelly. I'm Chief Executive of Manufacturing Northern Ireland. Today's session is on the Advanced Manufacturing Innovation Centre, AMIC, as it's known in shorthand, which is a £100 million initiative led by Queen's University in Belfast under the Belfast Region City Deal, the aim of AMIC is to boost Northern Ireland's manufacturing sector by fostering innovation, collaboration, and economic growth. Today's webinar will explore how Northern Ireland's manufacturing businesses can leverage AMIC's capabilities to tackle those productivity and sustainability challenges within your operations. I'm joined by some colleagues who will take us through how AMIC can support businesses to both reduce carbon and the impact of carbon within their business, embed innovation into business strategy, access public funding for projects, which is always very appealing, and develop the future skills that their team need in a new business environment. AMIC is also playing a key role in addressing the manufacturing skills agenda, working closely with our further and higher education institutions to help shape that skills development programme, which should be aligned with industry needs. I'm delighted to say we're joined by Conor Quinn, who's AMIC's Business Development Manager, who will explain how AMIC's open access capabilities, covering everything from the digital factory, Industry 4.0, automation, etc., the issues around smart design, sustainable polymers and composites, nanotechnology, photonics, and a whole raft of other areas that can actually help transform your business. Conor's a chartered engineer, so he's not an academic necessarily, but he has a technical background in the semiconductor industry, particularly over the last 20 years, and has worked in collaborative innovation. He's helped many companies access innovation funding, contributed to the establishment of the Centre for Secure Information Technology, CSIT, as it's known, at Queen's University in Belfast, and played a key role in shaping the business case for the Advanced Manufacturing Innovation Centre. I'm also really delighted that somebody who's still working as we speak, as you'll see from the images, but we're delighted to welcome along an industry voice who is Kelvin Henry, who's the operations manager at Oats, and he'll share how innovation and sustainability are creating real-world impact in manufacturing within that business. Oats is part of the Fane Valley Cooperative Group. Oats are part of the Fane Valley Cooperative Group, and have been milling oats and developing grain products at a Tandragee plant since 1841. I don't think Kelvin's been there since the beginning, but he can explain that better than most. And Kelvin also has not just that food experience, but aerospace experience working with Bombardier and BAE Aerospace, and within the packaging industry working with Griner, where he helped develop sustainable packaging solutions across extrusions, thermoforming, and other factory services. For those that haven't been on our sessions before, we do invite you to submit questions into our Q&A or the chat function, and we'll have a Q&A presentation and after the presentations. The session will be recorded. We'll be sharing a recording after the event alongside the slides. Conor, will kick off with yourself. You're very welcome along, and we'll come back to you with the Q&A towards the end.
Thank you very much, Stephen, and good afternoon, everybody. As Stephen has said, my name is Conor Quinn. I'm Business Development Manager at the Advanced Manufacturing Innovation Centre. My own personal background was in the semiconductor industry, working for a spin-out company from Queen's called VCO Technologies, which is now IceMOS Technologies that some colleagues might know. The agenda that I'm going to take us through today, really, I just want to achieve four main things. I want to introduce AMIC, what it is, and I want to introduce it as what we call the Open Innovation Workshop for Advanced Manufacturing. So this is an asset for the manufacturing sector in Northern Ireland. So it's your workshop. I want to go into some detail about AMIC's capabilities because AMIC is deep in certain technologies and certain sectors. I want to describe the practical mechanisms of engagement and the funding that's available to allow activity with AMIC. And actually, just on a more prosaic level, I just want to dispel maybe even some myths that are growing up around AMIC, and because we engage with industry, we know what all the good things people say about us, but we also know what some of the critiques that people articulate as well, and some of those myths, and we'll come back to them at the end, and we can see if I've addressed any of these. AMIC's not an academic ivory tower. We're an innovation centre. One of the critiques is AMIC's only focused on Belfast, aerospace, and the large companies, and that's simply not the case. Some people think that because we're publicly funded, it must be very cheap to access us. The counterpoint is that sometimes people find us very unaffordable, and I just want to talk a little bit about that as well. And we'll talk a little bit about the means of engagement with AMIC, and one of those is membership. But one of the key messages here today is AMIC's not a closed shop, and it's not just for members, albeit that you'll see that we do talk about membership as part of our own business model. So what do we mean by an innovation centre or an RTO? An RTO is a research and technology organisation, and these are generally not-for-profit organisations, and they exist right across the European innovation landscape. It has its own trade body, AERTO, and within our AERTO there are 350 RTOs. So we describe ourselves as an innovation centre, or alternatively as a research and technology organisation, and we exist to have economic impact. These are generally public investments in capability. So capability is a facility, it's equipment, and it's engineering people and skills. You put those together in a centre and you make that available to the economy to be transformative. So innovation centres play a vital role in transforming scientific research into commercial products, but also in helping SMEs leverage the latest technologies for productivity improvements. These centres facilitate collaboration and accelerate market access, and again have that significant economic growth focus. So you will see we're dual branded. We are part of Queen's University, and that's just the governance model that we have. It obviously gives us the not-for-profit status, but we exist very distinctly within the university as a separate unit with this economic mission. Another way to kind of differentiate ourselves from the science base or the university base is we use the levels of technology readiness. So these RTOs or centres, they sit in the middle phase, what we call the innovation phase, the space between basic research in academia and exploitation in industry. So our projects, which is our basic activity, tends to be undertaken at the TRL 4 to 7 level. And all the projects are either informed by industry or in collaboration with industry. So we play this translational role. We provide a collaborative space for shared resources for businesses large and small. We help companies commercialize products, and we also undertake technology foresighting. When you open us up, we run projects, and those projects can be of a whole range of scale. We call that collaborative R&D. We provide access to software, equipment, and test facilities. We do have an agenda also around skills development and in supporting competitive supply chains. So this model of RTO really draws on the whole concept of open innovation, which means that our facility is your facility. It should be accessible to industry, and it exists for the benefit of industry. And again, these centres exist right across Europe and right across Ireland and Britain. So we see ourselves as part of a wider innovation network. In the UK, these are crystallised by what we would recognise as the Catapult network, or the Catapults. And the Catapults now are probably 15 to 20 years old, and we're really the UK's initiative into creating this middle space, this RTO space within the UK industry systems. And what's important about this network is that AMIC isn't the one-stop shop for all your technology needs. We have certain capabilities, but we do connect people to other centres and other capability when that's relevant. So, for example, in the Republic of Ireland, we have a great partnership with Irish IMR, or Irish Manufacturing Research. We're very connected to the high-value manufacturing catapult across GB as well. And again, we would have ambitions to develop AMIC to the scale where it could be part of that high-value manufacturing catapult. So we also have this role in connecting capability and directing clients to appropriate capability. So we have this economic mission, really focused on driving the growth and competitiveness across the Northern Ireland manufacturing sector. We were brought together by the investment under the Belfast Region City Deal, and that's a capital investment which will allow us to develop new facilities and equipment at Global Point in Newton Abbey. And AMIC builds on existing centres that did exist within Queen's, with which many people may be familiar, the Northern Ireland Technology Centre, the PPRC, and also NIAS. So AMIC is now the placeholder for all of those previous centres and capability, and is really the one-stop shop for manufacturing innovation for the Northern Ireland sector. And again, our themes are very much, as Stephen has said, harnessing Industry 4.0 technologies, smart automation. Also for us, harnessing design methods for manufacturing efficiencies to solve business problems. So where are we? Well, we're live already. One of my key messages is that AMIC is not just a building. And we're a capability which is live right now. We are very engaged with industry at a strategic level. We're growing our team, and we do have a major capital build at Global Point, as I've mentioned, which is going to open in 2026. We will be multiple site, because of our legacy units, including NIAS on Airport Road, besides Baird Air Systems. We're already on multiple sites. So the Factory of the Future investment is going into Global Point, but we have ambitions to grow and expand what used to be called the NIAS facility that we now call AMIC Harbour, which is focused on composites and sustainable polymers on Airport Road. And it's likely that we'll also have a residual footprint in the university as well. The Factory of the Future, it's 10,000 square meters, due to open in 2026, and really has the capacity for about 150 staff. Hopefully, there's a bit of a fly through here. Let's see if this plays. Okay, that's not going to work. Don't know if it is playing. Kelvin, is it not playing? Okay.
No, not as yet.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, it's playing now.
Oh, I can see it anyway. So
yeah, it's playing now.
Yeah. So you may recognize that this was taken in May, if you remember the good spell of weather we had in May. So 10,000 square meters, an innovation space, a collaborative space. It would be populated with about £26 million of equipment of capital investment. Those that know Global Point will know that RLC is just adjacent, and actually the new Sensata Technology Centre is also just diagonally across. So we're hoping that Global Point really becomes a centre and hotbed of innovation. The existing equipment that we have within Queen's and within NIAS, some of it will be decanted up into the new facility. And we've got kind of like representative layouts here, and this actually demonstrates some of our capability, which is around modeling plant layout, simulation of processes, and really informing our own capital investments. So it's already quite a full space. I want to emphasize the collaborative nature of this space. This is a space that should be accessible. We want to see companies coming in using this facility, delivering projects within it. So we hope to be, we'll certainly be having a formal opening next year, but we actually hope to be decanting and on site from about April 2026. Through this whole process of specifying the centres and specifying the equipment list within it, we've engaged with industry. So we have had an AMIC industry board, which has informed the capital spend in terms of equipment, has also informed some of the technology themes and the areas of interest. So I just want to emphasize again that we are connected with industry. It's not something that we've designed in isolation. The industry board covers many of the major sectors in Northern Ireland, and again, this criticism sometimes that we're just aerospace, like we certainly include our aerospace partners, but we're very keen to engage with the other key sectors, the likes of materials handling. We'll hear a little bit today from food and drink, and also in terms of health and life sciences. We want to support all sectors, and we've had the voice of all sectors during this kind of startup phase. We also engage with industry through what we call our technology strategy groups, which are individual groups at a kind of sub-level looking at different themes. And that's an opportunity for companies to get involved and help to shape the future direction of both investments and projects. So I'm going to speak a little bit now just about the what of our capability, and what we call our the way we organize ourselves and present ourselves is in technology capability groups. And the 4 of those at the moment are digital factory, smart design, nanotech and photonics, and sustainable polymers and composites. And again, I'm not trying to go into too much detail, but this is really the framework in which we develop our capability. Digital factory captures a lot of our capability in advanced machining, metrology, robotics and automation, and digital transformation. So one of the big threads we see with a lot of our client companies is the challenge of digital transformation. And we want to assist companies in choosing the right digital tools and techniques on their digital transformation journey. So we have a mix of capability and equipment and resources. And we also have links, for example, into other centres in Queen's in AI and cyber. And when we consider the disruption of the JLR are experiencing at the moment, we do see cyber resilience being another key area for government funding over the next few years. So as I've mentioned, capability in robotics and automation, that's generally offline assessment of automation and robotic solutions. For digital manufacturing, it's helping companies on their digital transformation journey. So what data is required where, how do you dashboard that and bring it to a point where it is useful management information? And then digitalization is all around the sensorization of manufacturing and developing data flows that inform those kind of decisions. We're very deep capability in precision machining and its associated metrology, and that really comes from our engagement with the aerospace sector. And we're also very we have a specific initiative around automation for welding and fabrication. And again, that's to support the materials handling sector. Sustainable polymers and composites then draws on many years capability that used to exist within the PPRC. And that's helping companies, for example, look at sustainable materials and sustainable processes. We have core capability in technologies like rotational molding, injection molding, extrusion, blown film capabilities, and packaging applications. We are often engaged with companies on things like materials characterization. So the fact that we have a materials characterization suite is something that we regularly sell out to companies, and they leverage that. Composites obviously is a big area for us as well, particularly, I suppose, in the application for composite aerostructures. But we're looking at, I suppose, new technologies there, particularly things like 3D preforms for advanced aerospace aerostructures. But we would also support companies using other, using SMC, sheet molding compound, and glass fiber technologies as well. Sustainability and material sustainability would be a key theme within this capability group. I want to talk about smart design now, which is one of the areas that is probably quite distinctive for AMIC in UK terms. And this is drawing on a lot of the capability that was actually developed within Queen's. This is very much a product-focused capability group, and it harnesses design methods and data integration to really transform the connection between the product design process and its implementation within manufacturing. Within that, we also offer we have a design services capability, so we have relatively commodity product design capability and design services that we would work with companies where they're developing a new product or designing that product for manufacture. So we see over the next 2 to 3 years engaging with companies in terms of their design strategy and their design for manufacturing approach. We see significant opportunity there to add value. Finally, the final group is really a growth area for us. It's not an area that we have significant staff or capability at the moment. It is in the area of nanotechnology, and it really speaks to quite a deep engagement that the university has, particularly with the likes of Seagate Technology, Yellow, Thales, and IceMOS. So there is a nascent group here, a photonics cluster within Northern Ireland, looking at particular applications for photonic and integrated circuit integration. So it's part of the AMIC facility will actually be a clean room that will facilitate semiconductor quality processing. And the applications are things like sensors, advanced materials for storage, and the integration of photonics onto silicon chips. So it's quite a niche area. We appreciate that, but it is an area that at a UK level may give us some differentiation. and there are some relevant companies, obviously, with the likes of Seagate. I want to speak very briefly around some cross-cutting issues, and the key one for us is sustainability. We talked about the digital transformation thread, but the other significant thread that we find with companies is the sustainability transformation. And AMIC has a cross-cutting team looking at what sustainability means for the manufacturing sector. So we'll be focused on how we decarbonize processes in manufacturing, how we scale net zero technologies. So you will find some activity from us, particularly in hydrogen and the hydrogen supply chain. And also we want to work with supply chains to look for opportunities where where we can facilitate green shoring, through industrial decarbonization. So in addition to the wider sustainability strategy, we are developing some sustainability offerings, which would be just service offerings to client companies in the likes of carbon baseline assessments, circularity assessments, and taking design approaches for sustainability, circularity. So this is a cross-cutting group, and again, it's a core part of the AMIC offering and the AMIC mission. In terms of skills, I just want to make a comment that we're not, our main mission is innovation, but we are, as a City Deal project, we also have this responsibility to contribute to the skills agenda. So we have a cross-cutting team looking at the kind of skills gaps for the next generation manufacturing challenges. So we pray that we're going to play this facilitating role, where we'll develop and deliver relevant industry-led training. So that could be CPD, it could be technology specific, but we will also want to collaborate and convene with the colleges and the other providers and the policymakers in terms of informing and influencing future skills. And we also want to use our own environment as an enabler for developing people and developing skills programs. So that's really the introduction to the what AMIC is and the capability. I want to just touch on the means of engagement, if you like. How do you work with AMIC, or how do you get access to this capability? And we are essentially our own business has two main sources of income. We undertake grant-funded income, or grant-funded projects, collaborative R&D projects, or we undertake paid commercial services work. So you can engage with AMIC really through either channel, and there are different types of activities, within our project mix. At the lowest level, you can engage us for technical services like materials characterization or product testing. You can add in a little bit of consultancy on that as well. We've talked about training. We've talked about direct industry funded R&D, so companies will just fund projects directly. There is very much equipment focused offerings around access to equipment and access to equipment services. And then finally, and I'll talk about it briefly, we do have a membership model as well. But the other way to view this, I suppose, is and we'll get on to it, is what we call the innovation escalator. But before I get to that, I just want to paint the landscape of the funding that's available, because our view is that there is significant funding available for support for innovation. And that public funding exists at a regional level from the likes of Invest Northern Ireland, on a cross-border level from Intertrade Ireland and the Peace Plus programmes, at a UK level from the likes of Innovate UK, ATI and the Advanced Propulsion Centre, and then at a European level as well. So going back to the question of how you access AMIC, are you expensive, are you cheap? Our answer to that question really is that there is a portfolio of support available, not precluding the fact that you can obviously engage directly with us on a commercial basis and on a paid for basis as well. So many of you may be familiar with what Invest and I present, which is the innovation escalator. And this is a useful framework for companies to benchmark where they are in terms of innovation maturity. And again, at each stage, I suppose there are programs available and schemes available to help you engage. At the lowest level, companies can access innovation vouchers from Invest and I or Innovate UK, and that can pay for 8 to 15 days work to undertake something like materials characterization or to undertake a proof of concept design study. As you move up the escalator, other funding schemes come into play, such as Invest and I's TDI program, knowledge transfer partnerships, Contract research for us is where we're paid directly by companies to undertake projects. And then the whole collaborative RD&I space, or research, development and innovation. And there's, again, funding available at a regional, UK-wide and Europe-wide level to facilitate those kind of projects. And then at the highest level, I suppose, is where we see our strategic partnerships, is where our membership offer comes into play. So I'm not going to dwell on this slide, but I'll leave it in the presentation, and there are links directly out to a lot of those public funding schemes. Just to talk briefly about knowledge transfer partnerships, just as one example of a scheme, we run about 5 to 10 KTPs every year, and they're very much a person-based, what I would call a person-based project. This is where a company gets an associate to work in their facility, their business, along with support from the innovation partner, AMIC in this case. So it's a three-way partnership that works very well if a company can absorb that additional person into their business. Projects can be 12 to 36 months. And for SMEs, that's funded at actually 66%. So for companies that are in a position to bring in somebody to lead on a transformation project or an innovation project, KTPs are one of the mechanisms that we use regularly to facilitate that. A three-way partnership where you get a person, you get support from the Innovation Centre, and you get support then for the activity within your own business. Other programs that provide mechanisms for engagement is one of those programs is a regional program that we have with CAFRE, which is under the banner of the Robotics and Automation Partnership, or Food Automation Project. And this was a program again that provided between 15 and 30 days support for companies in the food sector looking at advanced automation solutions or robotic solutions. And this is a partnership with CAFRE, who bring their food technology and food industry expertise to problems, but they're harnessing the capability that we have, particularly in the likes of robotics and automation solutions. So that partnership still continues, albeit that the pilot program is now finished. But we did bring 24 companies through that pilot program, and up to 40% of the businesses there developed solutions that led to enhanced productivity, reduced waste, and optimized workflows. So also conscious that I've spoken for at quite length, I'd like now to introduce Kelvin Henry, who is operations manager at White's Oats in Tandragee, and they were one of the participants on the food automation program. And Kelvin's going to talk a little bit about the experience that he had in the particular solution that was deployed within his business, and how the benefit that came from AMIC and CAFRE and all the participants in the process. So Kelvin, over to yourself if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Okay, Connor, thank you very much for that. So as Connor says, operations manager at White's Oats. Peter Simpson and Des Brady introduced us, both from CAFRE, introduced us to AMIC and the 30 days support. This was primarily with Peter Higgins, although there was a few other AMIC guys joined at various stages. The main thrust of our concept here was that we were very concerned about fitting this level of automation into a fairly small space. So Peter was key to this in taking the concept and putting it in the simulation model, showing that it would fit within the desired floor space that we had. We ran several meetings with AMIC support, CAFRE support, and also our integrator, which was Raven Steel Engineering. All four of us around the table, everybody had got a share and a stake in it. So it was quite beneficial that way, that we got the best out of everybody's input to it. Secondly to that, we also engaged with our cardboard packaging supplier, and with the introduction of a case erector, we were further fit to reduce cardboard usage within our own facility and also in their facility, because they were able to improve their designs to get better utilization out of their raw material. So that, as we said, gave us an annual saving of 77 tonnes per annum. And obviously then OEE benefits. we were at that stage very reliant on manual labor, and what you find is people didn't want to come in for a night shift. You know, we were forced into a production changeover, either to a SKU which required less labor, etc. So this allowed us to plan, to run longer on set SKUs, etc., and build our stock levels. So that was really it. The benefit for us was getting the automation in and fitting it in with AMIC support and CAFRE support, so that it was, you know, it was going to work. And the concept that we signed off is largely what you see there and what actually was built. There was very little change whenever it actually come to the build with the integrator, but he was key in that as well. That okay, Connor? Or
yeah. I'll maybe just
yep.
to see if this will run. So again, I like at the very early stage, it was about scoping the geometry of the space that was required. We obviously developed we obviously developed this you know, the kind of animation simulation model, you know, and
yep.
I think Kelvin probably is a fair reflection actually of the deployment that you
yeah. That's it. If you were in Tandragee this morning, that's what you would see. You know, so the design, you can see it's a fairly compact site that way. So there was lots of challenges getting enough conveying in to provide buffers at the various machines, at sort of the case erector and at the flow wrapper, and then lots of learning as to where to have the people, where to get people. You know, obviously bags, you'll see them, they're all standing up like little soldiers. They don't always stand up. They have occasion to tip over if they're not filled correctly. So all those wee challenges that you had to cross through the process, and where bottlenecks would seek to occur. But
no, that's great. That's great, Kelvin. Like I think one of the things I would want to emphasize, I suppose, was the collaborative nature, particularly working with the integrator. You know, one of the things in AMIC that we always have to remind people is that we're not a system integrator. You know, our skills are probably much more in the simulation capacity planning element of these type of projects. You know, so I think it's a positive thing to hear that, you know, about that collaborative way of working with the people that are in the market and providing these solutions, but can still benefit from the kind of capability that we bring.
Yeah,
that's great, Kelvin. Thanks very much. I'd like to talk about maybe some other projects, or I suppose examples of collaborative R&D that AMIC has undertaken. One of our flagship projects was a project called Scenic, which was this is a 4-year collaborative R&D project, and some, you know, £9 million in budget and supported through Invest and I through their Grant for R&D program. Very much supporting the 4 precision engineering companies, RLC, Travan, Sam Aerospace, and Myola. So this was a much longer term capability project. And again, I think one of the great lessons from this experience was the fact that, you know, 4 companies who maybe not in competitive markets, but certainly competing for people and competing at some level for skills, were able to come into a collaborative environment and work on shared challenges facilitated by AMIC. Again, these would be, you know, not necessarily market ready challenges, but the mid TRL space that I mentioned before. So had a particular focus on developing expertise for hard metal machining, you know, particularly for titanium. Clearly, you know, it was to establish Northern Ireland as a recognised region for advanced metallic aerospace components. And really, we wanted to demonstrate this value of collaboration. And I think this collaboration challenge is something that, you know, really AMIC is there to facilitate. You know, we want to see companies, even in the same sector, collaborating on shared problems, and that's a real challenge. We know particular sectors, you know, particularly where skills are very competitively fought over, you know, there's this challenge around collaboration, but there are clearly shared challenges where everybody can benefit. The themes within the Scenic project were particularly around high efficiency machining, particularly looking at hard metals, manufacturing automation, so the application of robotics and automation, and then also particular challenges around metrology and process assurance. So again, there were many different themes within those three different pillars. But again, just looking at some of the automation challenges, we did look at the challenges of using 0-point tooling to facilitate, automation in terms of machine loading and unloading, and trying to exploit or to achieve benefits around reduction in production labor, achieving multiple parts in one setup, and obviously increased machine efficiency and utilization. So we simulated this in the digital world first. We then deployed it in our own workshop, and then we also simulated what a full production deployment of that type of technique would be used. So that's the kind of shared challenge. I suppose the application of 0-point tooling and automated tool loading applied across multiple companies working in different sectors. Finally, I am going to mention AMIC membership just briefly, because it is part of our own business model and our mode of operation. And membership is, again, that strategic offering. It's a multi-year commitment where companies will come in, help steer the direction of the centre, and get access to staff and equipment within the centre. So it's really at the top level of that innovation escalator. It's the strategic offer. Membership will be available at many different levels, and it provides access to equipment, it provides access to staff, and it also provides more general access to the facility. The way membership works is that the funding from member fees goes in, 65% of it goes on company-specific projects, what we call member-directed projects, and 35% of it goes on a shared or pooled core research program. And the members then help shape that core research program. So obviously companies own everything that's done for them under the 65%, but they get the leverage of collaborating with other companies on the 35%. So it strikes a good balance between company-specific challenges and shared member pooled projects. And again, that exists at multiple tiers. So there will be large company tier 1 members, but again, membership exists at both tier 2 and tier 3 levels as well. And tier 3, again, is explicitly only for SMEs. Some of the softer benefits within membership are, for example, hot desking access directly into our facility. So again, we want our members to help shape and define projects, but then we want them to be on site working with us on delivering those. So that's, I suppose, the strategic offer. I want to mention, just as we draw to a close here, I just want to talk a little bit about support for digital transformation, because we do have another program which we'll be launching soon, and I just want to give early sight of that. But supporting companies on digital transformation, we use a framework for assessing companies in terms of their Industry 4 readiness that we call SIRI. And many of you may be familiar that we undertook a pilot project. And this is a framework in which we assess the digital readiness of companies, but we then also help them define a digital transformation plan. So we undertake these SIRI assessments, and we have a number of SIRI assessors. But the assessment is only useful if it allows you to develop a plan. And I just want to signpost at a very early stage that we are in partnership with IMR, Irish Manufacturing Research, going to be delivering a program called DATUM, which is an SME-only program. It operates in the Peace Plus program area, so not to get too technical about it, but it's Northern Ireland and the border counties in the Republic. It's a 3-stage process, which will include a SIRI assessment, but it will also provide support for companies to develop a digital transformation plan and then actual implementation in terms of what we're calling a collaborative transformation project. So this program is hoping to touch up to 100 SMEs, so at least 50 in Northern Ireland, with perhaps 10 companies proceeding to the 3rd stage, where perhaps up to 100 days of support might be available to deliver a digital transformation project. So we're very excited about it. And again, it's a little bit, we haven't formally launched it, but we are now post-contract, and we are comfortable talking about it. So in conclusion, our message is welcome to your workshop. These facilities and these staff and this equipment is available for you. Think about open innovation. Think about how this extends your in-house capabilities. AMIC provides a collaborative innovation and open access environment, and there are many different mechanisms to engage and a whole range of finance and support to help you access that. So welcome to your workshop. I want to see how I got on with my myth busting. So are we an academic ivory tower? Hopefully you've got a flavour now of the types of projects we undertake. Sometimes we have to say what we don't do. You know, we don't teach and we don't publish research papers. We're staffed with professional engineering staff and industry scale equipment. AMIC is only focused on Belfast airspace large companies. Well, we do engage with large companies and we do engage with aerospace. The fact that we're a Belfast region project is really, you know, the main outworking of that is the fact that we are located within BRCD and that we are located in Antrim and Newton Abbey Borough Council. But we will serve the entire manufacturing sector right across Northern Ireland and internationally. Are we cheap or are we too expensive? Well, the real answer there is that there's a whole range of financing and supports to allow you to access the capability and services that we offer. So we're not, we're not a fully paid for free access service. That's not the way we operate. We do operate commercial services as well at market rate, but there are a range of supports available. And finally, we're not just for members, albeit that membership is part of our own revenue model. We want members to come on because we want the manufacturing sector to commit to this facility long term as well. It can't just be government and it can't just be the universities. We do need industry to step up as well, and membership is a great way to do that. So, just in conclusion, just to say that obviously our funded partners, the university has made a commitment to the centre as well as has Antrim and Newton Abbey Borough Council, but we're primarily funded through the Belfast Region City Deal. And we do have Ulster University are a key partner within AMIC as well. I should have made more of that when I spoke about our capability in composites in particular. Ulster has always been a formal member of the NIAS facility and continues to be a formal partner within AMIC as well. In terms of contacting us, I'll leave the contact details on the slide, and I'll leave it now, Steve, and open to questions.
Conor and Kelvin, thanks very much for that. Huge amount of detail in there. I think if you even just leave the contact details on the screen, Conor, okay, that'll be fine. It means I'm not looking at myself on the screen as well, which is Ulster suffered enough. But thank you very much for that. A huge amount of detail, and I think give people a real sense of just the breadth of services that will be provided thanks to that City Deal, largely that City Deal funding in terms of the capital piece, but now the actual practical outworkings of that and by bringing it to life and showing the real value for the manufacturing sector. If you don't mind, we'll maybe start with a question or two for Kelvin, because clearly he's a working man. He's got his PPE on, ready to get back onto the shop floor there. But Kelvin, the project that you were involved in with those multiple partners, given your experience you've had in manufacturing over a long number of years now, to do the same type of project previously, what sort of timescales were involved, and did this project really speed up that timescale for you, and as a result make it much more efficient in terms of cost?
Yeah, it made it a lot more efficient. The food industry isn't heavily supported with a lot of, let's call it, engineering or method engineers in their headcount. You know, if you go to the likes of Bombardier or Collins Aerospace, we had lots of engineering support in those sort of environments. So when it come to changing the design, there was strength in numbers, there was knowledge behind you. Food industry tends to be, the technical team is the strongest in terms of numbers, and they'll be very much by their regulations. So if you don't have a lot of technical engineering support in these environments, so it was really good. They emphasized how small our factory was. So if a conveyor was 1 meter longer, we were in trouble. So the simulation really helped. The fact that it was 30 days focused the mind, because every day you had Peter on site, and every day you brought them together for a meeting on it. That was practically another day out of the equation. So, it very quickly focused the mind. There was concept, there was certain key constraints, you know, this amount of floor space, this is what we've got to get done. The integrator had a proposal as such of what he thought, and then Peter was effectively mimicking it and then making amendments to it, and everybody contributed with a number of different changes to it. So, you know, very quickly, I would say probably in over an 8-week window, we had the final concept out ready to go, you know, for forward for a CapEx.
And in the past, some elements of that would have been designed through the system integrators, obviously experienced what they do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a huge amount of tweaking in the past would have had to take place. And as a result, a huge amount of waste and potential existential crisis in terms of that capital investment. So did that make, so you obviously have to go and make a business case to colleagues for the capital investment they deliver on the other side. Did it provide you with the kind of tools you needed to make that process internally even more smooth?
Yeah, you know, a picture paints is worth 1,000 words. So, you know, you're fit to actually take a couple of screenshots and go, right, guys, you know, here's what we're going to do, and talk them through each stage of it. It meant internal buy-off was easier because people could see how it was going to work. And then you could get them to concentrate on their own wee bits, because, you know, getting it approved was one side of it. We then had to implement it, and you had to implement it while not stopping work. So I always said it was akin to renovating your house while still living in it. There's a few days was a wee bit stressful on the blood pressure.
And you said that, and many manufacturers have the same experience, that it's always really difficult to get people to do the night shifts, the alternate shifts and stuff. And I think that was one of the real kind of benefits that you'd kind of pulled through when you were speaking to us, that actually you were able to run essentially the same production process that you're running during the day at night. You weren't having to step things down, change your whole processes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I mean, what has that meant for you as a business in terms of your productivity and your output?
Well, productivity, it allows you to keep the flow. Every time you stop to even change packaging, you know, that's very easily half an hour gone. So like one shift comes in, you're just keeping them, they roll on, the other shift goes home, and they just keep feeding the same line. And, you know, people don't, you know, it stops that element of change, because if they've got to go to the warehouse to get different packaging, you know, they'll obviously talk about last night's Champions League results, etc. And very quickly, your downtime is through the roof. Like, you know, again, talking about the night shift not coming in, you know, different people at that time, you know, I would say post-COVID, a lot of people seem to have lost the will to work or the loyalty to come to their work. It seems to be easy to just duck out of things now. So that then left us that we had certain SKUs which, you know, only needed 2 people to run the line. Other SKUs needed 4. So we were continually suffering. If you were committing to having a certain amount of material out to a customer and it was a line that required 4 people, you're only fit to do it, you know, on early shift and evening shift, because you couldn't guarantee the night shift would come in. So, you know, if that was going over 2 days, all of a sudden you were 2 shifts behind very quickly. So this allowed us to fit the plan more efficiently, the right material coming into the guys, and actually hitting your on-time delivery out. So,
and a final question for you, Kelvin, from Amy. Now the automation and robotics are in place at the factory, what kind of visuals or dashboards are you using to monitor performance? And what value has that unlocked so far? Or is that the next stage of the puzzle?
That would be the next stage. We're still fairly paper-based. But the one thing that, you know, was very apparent in it was the amount of training that we have to do. I would say that was probably one thing that I had underestimated. Just when you bring in change like that, automation, you need to train every day. And if you find one fault on one shift, train it out across the rest of them as quick as you can, because it'll reoccur.
So the kind of visual pieces is probably stuff that'll come down the line again as well, and directly answering Amy's question. Connor, I'll come to you for a couple of kind of quick fires with the number of minutes we've left. We try to keep these to an hour on our max. I think your myth busting slides were really helpful. We're going to steal that in some of my own presentations in the future. But you talked about the different types of the different levels in which people can engage. Can you tell us what the kind of typical rates for AMIC versus are?
Yeah, like the easy answer to that, Stephen, is obviously it depends. You know, and it depends on the staff that we're deploying. But when we undertake commercial work, we have to undertake it at market rate. You know, and that's for, you know, there are some structural reasons around state aid, which still applies, and subsidy control and things that flow through us. You know, so all the public funding that flows to AMIC, we have to be prudent about how that is. But you will find that if you're engaging us for things like digital transformation or design services or sustainability, that, you know, they will be commercial rates that you would find, you know, in the market for those kind of consultancy-based services. The secret really is to try and use the schemes that are available to reduce that cost. So the likes of the Invest in I Technical Development Incentive, or TDI program, which is available to Invest in I clients, is a way to kind of get grant support for those type of engagements, and that basically will chop the cost in half.
And do you assist with that type of application process? And actually, when I'm talking about it, I mean, do you need to be an investor in a client company?
Well, for some of those schemes you do. The likes of innovation vouchers, and again, I suppose innovation vouchers close on Friday for anybody that might be interested. Not for innovation vouchers, you don't need to be an Invest in I client, but for things like TDI, I think you need to, for example, demonstrate the export potential that's going to be in the business, and then be an Invest in I client as well. But there are lots of other schemes for funding for innovation. We actually see our role, and that's a kind of a softer role. You know, it's not a paid for role, but our ability to, for example, write grant applications and write applications for innovation projects and write you know, bids into Europe and bids into Innovate UK. We do that, and we do that because it's core for us to be able to support partners to make these projects happen. So we absolutely do have a dedicated team to help companies make those type of applications, because that innovation funding is something that's clearly core to the sustainability of AMIC.
And you talked there about a number of different delivery partners, and Kelvin talked about his own system integrator was involved, as well as AMIC and the business themselves. And it kind of begs the question, in those kind of collaborative projects, who owns the intellectual property at the end of this?
Yeah, so it's a kind of that's a challenging question, you know. And again, when companies participate in a collaborative way, and each is individually funded, they own their own results. They own obviously the intellectual property in what they develop. What happens in the collaborative space is they get access to all the results. They just don't necessarily get access to the intellectual property rights associated with that. But often those results are really of significant value, particularly even negative results, you know, that allow companies to avoid investing in a technology or an area of exploitation that's just not going to deliver anything for them. So there are compromises to be made in the collaborative space because of the public funding that's available. But generally, companies own their own IP for what they deliver, and they get access to the results of the entire project.
And Connor, you've come from industry. You're an engineer yourself. You've been involved in startup businesses and others. AMIC didn't exist at that point in time. Compare once, obviously, AMIC are up and running now and services are being provided. It's not just about the physical space, which is due at some point next year. But compare your experience in this space at the coalface compared to what will it look like whenever all these services are fully up and running and the facilities are up and running.
Well, we absolutely want this. We want AMIC to be transformative. You know, these types of centres, like the UK was a bit of a laggard actually in terms of government policy and investing in these centres. So when I started out, you know, you just engaged with the university, but universities have very different priorities than the likes of our centre under the RTO model. So this economic mission, like I have to emphasize that it's really central to the leadership, that currently exists within AMIC, and it runs right through everything that we do. So we do want it to be a transformative hub, within the Northern Ireland manufacturing base.
And two final questions for you. What is required? A question from Stephen. What's needed to qualify for a CIRI assessment or CIRI review?
Oh, well, there's many ways to access that, and you could actually apply under an innovation voucher to receive support for the CIRI assessment. And when we launched the dating program, we hope to engage with about 50 SMEs under that. So now, while it's broadly a fully funded program, we probably still will have like an entry fee for companies to access that. So it might be in the region of 1K, or there'll be a nominal fee for the access for the CIRI assessment, but that's more that we want companies to be really fully committed to the transformation journey. So just bear with us for 2 months in terms of the dating project, but if people wanting to access the CIRI assessment right now could access that either through an innovation voucher or potentially even through, certainly under a reduced basis, through TDI.
So you mentioned that the innovation voucher, the current tranche of innovation vouchers close on Friday, so people can spend the next 48 hours getting that application and get cracking. It's maybe an idea. And a final question just then for you, Conor. Say I have a project idea. What's the best route and who should I contact? Yeah, listen, just either, my contact details are on the slide here. I don't mind. Certainly people can contact me directly, or they can just drop in through our website and a web form, get an inquiry into us. We want to be open access in terms of capability, but we also want to be very open to understand people's projects and what they'd like to do with us. Conor, and particularly Kelvin, who's still at work. I know Conor and I are working, of course we are, but Kelvin looks like he's working. And he's get back to rolling them oats. But really grateful to you both for your time this afternoon. As I said, we do have the slides and a recording which we'll share after the event. If people have any specific questions, contact Conor directly, or even contact ourselves, and we can help direct those questions to the right people. Thank you for your time. Thank you for those people who joined us. And we look forward to seeing you again at our next seminar.